Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome back to another PS4 and PS5 jailbreak news update. I am including the PS4 in this one because we do have something that affects the PS4 that I do want to talk about. But of course, it's mostly going to be focused on PS5 since that is where all of the magic seems to be happening at the moment. So one of the big things that we've just got recently over the past few hours is that Flats has actually revealed a third potential hypervisor exploit, which is just crazy that we've gone from having no hypervisor exploit for well over a year to all of a sudden having potentially 3 all at once. So Flats has gone ahead and just straight up posted the information here to Twitter. So he says there are a few ways on PS5 to defeat the hypervisor. One of the methods I've found was related to APIC. Struct APIC_OPS is located in read-write segment of kernel data. With kernel read-write, you can overwrite a function pointer inside it, x_APIC_mode, and get into ROP. For example, just need to bypass control flow integrity, which is one of the security measures that is built into the PS5. He then says, after you do suspend/resume cycle, your code will be executed before hypervisor restarts, and you can apply kernel patches, etc. By the way, it's not the method that has been patched in 5.0. Actually, I'm not even sure if it has been patched at all yet. Needs testing, for which I don't have spare time now. Maybe someone can do it. Basically just posted this information so that other hackers in the scene can look into this as a potential way of exploiting the PS5 hypervisor, and he doesn't know what firmware it's been patched in. That does not necessarily mean it's going to work all the way up to 7.61 or higher. It could have well been patched in an older firmware, we just don't know yet at this time. But yeah, potentially 3 hypervisor exploits, all in the space of a few weeks. Of course, we've got Spectre, who is going to be revealing his hypervisor exploit that works up to 2.50 at this year's hardware.io conference, which is later this month. And then also Flats has a hypervisor exploit that originally he knew worked up to 3.21, but he wasn't sure which firmware it was actually patched in. That has now been confirmed. He tested on higher firmwares and he's confirmed it's been patched in 5.0. So his hypervisor exploit works up to 4.51, which is really good news for people who have the original PS5 jailbreak from 3.0 to 4.51 with the IPv6 kernel exploit, because if you're on any of those firmwares that has the previous jailbreak for the PS5, you are on a firmware that is vulnerable to Flats' hypervisor exploit. However, Flats isn't necessarily going to publish that hypervisor exploit until the person who originally discovered it, who I believe is Shuffle from Fail Overflow, until he potentially releases it or makes some information about it public. So it's still in dispute whether or not that hypervisor exploit will actually see the light of day. And now we have this potential third method, which Flats has not actually looked into himself yet, but Flats is encouraging other security researchers in the scene to look into this as another potential way of exploiting the hypervisor. So yeah, anyway, that is the breaking news that has just come out today. So we've also had another update from Hammer83 on his Blu-ray drive implementation of the exploit. So it looks like nothing has changed here. It was updated 4 days ago. However, if you go down to the snapshots and you look at the umtx snapshot, which is the one that actually loads the kernel exploit, you can see it was updated yesterday. So this has improved stability. I've tested it on my 2.30 system and it seems to be much more stable than it was previously, although I have also tried on 4.03 and 7.61 and it is crashing quite consistently on those firmwares. There seems to be a bug that needs to be resolved there because it is just crashing most of the time. I only tested it about 3 times on each firmware. However, I've seen other people testing on like 6.x firmware where they've apparently tried like 20 plus times and they've maybe managed to get it executing once. So yeah, there's definitely some issues that need to be fixed on higher firmwares to improve stability. And then of course, at the moment, it doesn't do anything yet. It's, still very much in testing. So it's just going to, print out a message about read-write being serialized. And that's all it does after a successful execution. So after stability is fixed, we'll need to get offsets and, payloads and various other things ported to get it working. So still a little ways away, it looks like, from this becoming a usable exploit right now, but improvements are being continuously made. So another thing that also applies to PS4 and potentially PS5 here is this Lua loader from Jazine. So Artemis Lua loader. It says here, Artemis is a cross-platform visual novel game engine that utilizes Lua script. So essentially we can inject custom Lua script into the save file that can be executed when the save is loaded. And this could potentially lead to an exploit. So at the moment, there seems to be some kind of vulnerability in this game engine, and because the saves use Lua script, we can trigger that vulnerability with some custom Lua script injected into the save file. So that is how this works at the moment. It is just pretty much a proof of concept right now to run arbitrary Lua script from a save file. However, it does have the potential to be turned into a userland exploit, and that's what the developers appear to be working on right now, which would be pretty handy for PS4 and PS5, because on PS4, the latest userland exploit we have is still the PS3 userland exploit with the web browser, which works up to 9.60. We were actually very lucky that the latest kernel exploit we got for the PS4 that resulted in the jailbreak for 11.0 did not require a userland exploit. Most of the exploits for, or pretty much all the exploits really for the PS4 and PS5, all of the kernel exploits that lead to a jailbreak need to be triggered from a userland exploit, exploit that can be triggered in user space in order to be able to access that kernel exploit. So that is typically what's required, an exploit chain, userland plus kernel, and we only have a userland on PS4 up to 9.60. So this could be really useful if this gets turned into a usable userland exploit on the PS4. Then we would have a userland exploit that works all the way up to 12.0, the latest firmware for the PS4, and then that could be used to trigger any future kernel exploits that come out for the PS4. And then also the same thing with the PS5. Not only that, but the PS5, we could also use it to trigger the umtx bug if it gets turned into a userland exploit. So the project includes save files to test with the game Raspberry Cube. There is actually a fake package version of that game that you can download if you want to test it on a jailbreakable PS4, if you want to test the proof of concept. And if you're on a retail console, you could try just purchasing the game. There's also a number of other games that are supported. I'll leave a list of them here on screen. So these are the games that also have a physical release, a disc version of the game that can be ran, because obviously we're going to want that. Otherwise, we have to be on the latest firmware whenever we want to download that game or purchase that game, which is not good because obviously most exploits are going to come out for older firmwares. We want a physical release of the game that we can still run on older firmwares. So therefore, those are the games that have a physical release and also use Lua for the save files that we can use to try and trigger this. So on top of that, there's also this link here to a trial version that you can download. I believe you need a Japanese account for this, because this is only available in the Japanese region. So if I try and add this to my library, I just get an error because I don't have a Japanese account. Let me try that again. Add to library, it just says something went wrong. So it seems you'll need a Japanese account if you want to get this on your retail system, but generally it's best to buy a physical copy of the game so that it doesn't matter what firmware you're on, you'll still be able to run the game and load the modified save file. So there's a couple of options to test this right now. If we go into the project, we can see there is a decrypted version of the save and an encrypted version. So if you want to give this a try, then if you are on a retail console and you have the game, then you're going to want to download the encrypted save file. You've got the save data and save data.bin. You just download those. I just downloaded those to my desktop and then put them in a folder with the title ID of the game, CUSA16074. And then I added that to a zip archive. And then from there, I was able to just plug in a USB drive into my computer. Then I could use Save Wizard to just go to the resign section and import that zip file, which would then allow me to import the save. It will resign it automatically to my profile and copy it to my USB drive. And once it was on my USB, I could just unplug that, plug it into the PS4, and then just use the application Save Data Management to copy it from my USB drive back to the hard drive, and I could then load up the game and run it, and that would automatically run the exploit. You don't even have to load the save. As soon as the game launches, it will then run the custom Lua script, and you'll see these message prompts appear on screen, which means that it is working. Now, if you want to test on a jailbroken PS4, then the process is a little bit different. You actually have to create the save file first on the game, I believe. And then once you've done that, you can then open the Apollo save tool and you can go to the HDD saves and copy it to your USB drive. There's multiple ways you could do it in the Apollo save tool. I just went into HDD saves, copied it to my USB drive. And then from there, I could just replace the decrypted save data on the USB with the one from the project. And then from there, I could just go back onto Apollo and copy the save data back to the hard drive from the USB. And that got it on there, so it would load when I loaded the game. So all it does right now is it just prints a few messages to screen showing you the Lua version, and a couple of other kind of debug prompts. That's all that's happening right now, but again, the developers are working on trying to turn this into a usable exploit, which could lead to a potential user mode or userland exploit on the PS4, which would work on higher firmwares, which would be great for triggering a future kernel exploit that may come out for the PS4 in future. And of course, for the PS5, we could use it potentially to trigger the umtx bug instead of using a Blu-ray disc. That would be another option, but again, this is all contingent on this turning into a usable userland exploit for the PS4 and PS5. One of the other issues related to this is actually getting the save file on your PS4 or PS5. If you, for example, had a retail console that was not activated, then even if you have a physical copy of the game, it doesn't allow you to copy save files from the hard drive to the USB or the USB to the hard drive if your account isn't activated, and you can't activate the account on a retail console on an older firmware. So that presents a problem. It seems this problem can be resolved, at least on PS4, using the backup and restore feature. So if you were on a non-activated account, you could back up your system, back up your save files with the backup and restore feature, and then swap out those save files in the backup and then restore it afterwards to get the save file on a retail console that's not activated. That might be one way to solve that issue, at least on PS4, maybe also on PS5. So anyway, that's what's being worked on right now for PS4 and PS5. This is another potential attack vector if this could be turned into a userland exploit for loading the umtx kernel exploit on the PS5, and any future kernel exploits that come out for the PS4 could be chained with this. But again, it's all contingent on this turning into a usable userland exploit, which it's looking promising that is what's happening at the moment with the developments that are currently going on. But it just depends if the developers run into some kind of roadblock that prevents them from going any further. So that's pretty much all the latest updates caught up to for now. Obviously, things will change very rapidly as they continue to do, so I'll keep you guys posted as time goes on. But anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And once again, I'll hopefully see you guys in the next one.